So in this video I'm going to be talking about the strategy that I would use to enable Manchester United to raise £50 million in revenue, maybe not by summer 2025, but by the summer of 2026, and this would be something continuous that Manchester United could do season after season. And I think it could be even more profitable with a multi-club network, and I'm going to explain how I would set that up in just a bit. But first, what exactly is this transfer strategy? Well, for next summer it would involve signing 4 or 5 of these 10 players. Tariq Lamptey, Leif Davis, Quinton Timber, Adrien Truffert, Eli Junior Krupi, Armel Bella-Kottrap, Simon Adingra, Johan Bakayoko, Polinsky Hartman and Julio Enciso. Now you may be thinking some of these aren't exactly United level, and at the moment anyway I would agree. However, I wouldn't be signing these players solely to improve United's starting 11 or squad. Like Chelsea's transfer strategy, I think Manchester United have to start being more business savvy in the transfer market, especially with us reportedly making a loss in last season's accounts, pushing us close to FFP restrictions. See, all of these players have contracts expiring either next summer or in the summer of 2026. Leif Davis and Tariq Lamptey are the two who will be available on a free next season, whilst the rest should be available for maybe between 40 to 60% of their actual value if it wasn't for their contract situation, which alongside being under the age of 25, with all but Leif Davis and Tariq Lamptey under 24, United could sign these players on free transfers or for reduced fees, either keeping them as squad players if needed or loan them out for a season, and when they come back the following summer in 2026, if United feel they are good enough for the squad, then they can come back and compete for a starting spot. But if they aren't needed, we can sell them on for maybe 30 to 50% of what we originally paid for them. But before I go any further, if you want to check out any of the new season jerseys, go over to Jersey FIFA. They've also got club and international retro jerseys as well. You can use code Atlantis for a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which will be linked in the description. Let's use Leif Davis as an example. Say we sign him on a free from Ipswich next summer when his contract expires. I think going forward he's exactly what United need, an overlapping left-footed left-back who is a dangerous creator from wide positions. However, I do think he's a bit dodgy defensively, particularly when it comes to his defensive positioning, and so I don't actually think he's United level, or certainly United starting level, at this point in his development. And so given that he's only on £20,000 a week at Ipswich, United could offer him £30,000 a week, offer him the deal of going on loan initially for the first season, and being given essentially a trial year before United decide whether he gets brought back next season. If you think about it from Davis's perspective, it's a pay rise and potentially the opportunity of being brought back into the first team at United. Even if he isn't Manchester United level, he certainly is Premier League level. And I think if Wolves were to sell Ryan Out-Nouri in the summer, Leif Davis would be the perfect option as his replacement, being able to play as a left wing back in a back 5 or as an offensive overlapping left back in a back 4. And considering that in this scenario he'd be available on a loan from United, this would probably work well for Wolves, as it would allow them to reinvest the money they get for Out-Nouri elsewhere in the squad. If Davis has a good season at Wolves come the summer after, if there isn't a place for him in the United squad, we can move him on for between £20 to £25 million, with nearly all of that being pure profit. And the same goes for Tariq Lamptey, who could definitely have a good season on loan from United in 25-26 to a bottom-end Premier League side. And even though he probably wouldn't be worth as much as Leif Davis in the summer of 2026, Lamptey would still be young enough to where United should be able to make around £15 million profit on him, which would be a combined £40 million between both him and Leif Davis, which is enough for United to reinvest in an elite level fullback. Now, Lamptey and Davis are the only two on that list whose contracts expire at the end of the season, but you could also do this with players coming into the last year of their contracts, where clubs, particularly because of FFP, don't want to lose players on a free, and so United could pick up players for a 40 to as much as a 60% reduction. Look at players like Julio Enciso, Johan Bakayoko and Quinton Timber for example. I think at the moment all are worth between £30 to £40 million tops, but with just 1 year left on their contracts, you are probably looking at valuing them at between £15 to £20 million. I think all three are good enough to be in United's squad at the minute, as squad players at least, and I think all three have huge potential, and so if possible, I'd look to do exactly what Chelsea have been doing over the last few seasons, which is signing all three, seeing who could be used in the squad for the 25-26 season, and loan out the others. And even if all three don't have places in United's squad from the start, this could actually help United financially, and that's because Manchester United could sign these players without having to pay a substantial payment up front. Let's use Julio Enciso for example. Before his injury last season, I thought Enciso was one of the Brighton players who was certain of a big move down the line, but the injury disrupted his progress. However, I still believe that alongside Bakayoko and Timber, at the moment they're worth around £30 million at least, and after a good season, he could be worth up to £35 to £45 million. So in the summer of 2025, United can go to Brighton and offer them a deal to sign Julio Enciso, but in order to reduce the initial fee that they would have to pay for Enciso, likely between £15 to £20 million, they could loan him back to Brighton for the final season of his contract, which in of itself should be worth around £5 to £6 million in a loan fee, whilst these wages would also be covered by Brighton for that season. If Enciso hits a level that I think he could do after this season, I think come the summer of 2026 he could be worth upwards of £50 to £60 million, or potentially also be the type of false 9 centre forward that United want to bring into the squad as an alternative to Xerxes. And so realistically, United could sign Enciso for as little as maybe £10 to £12 million, which you could negotiate to pay at the end of the 25-26 season in order to give you more funds for the summer of 2025. And through literally just keeping him at Brighton for the last season of his contract, United could pay Brighton the £12 million at the end of the season and have a player who could immediately make around £25 to £35 million in profit. And that's just from one player. Imagine if we had a multi-club network and could have greater control over how our loan players develop, potentially being able to do this for between 5 to 10 players every single summer, potentially making £15 to £25 million in profit off of each player within the next season or so, giving us a massive amount of money to reinvest.